Check it out. This is a visualization of all of the visitors to my website today. It's all over the globe. It's kind of crazy. Now, sure, some of them are bots, and I could probably even figure out which ones are thanks to the brand new lifetime deal that just hit AppSumo. This is Rybbit, a web analytics platform that is available on AppSumo. This is a Google Analytics alternative. So if you're like me and you get a little bit nauseous looking at Google Analytics, but you still love data, you want the insights, well, this could be a really good solution. I installed Rybbit on my website about 1 day ago, and I've been using it, keeping an eye on how everything is going. And I'm going to show you some of that data in a moment. But here is their website. And one thing that stood out to me is one of their values is that they are open source forever. If you're a fan of my channel, you know that I love self-hosted software. Often self-hosted software is also open source. So I went and checked, and sure enough, they are on GitHub. So you've really got two choices here. You could self-host this, which will take some technical expertise, or you could grab the lifetime deal from AppSumo for just $49. There's actually 3 plans on AppSumo, $49, $129, and $279. Just depends on how many websites you want to manage the analytics for and how many events you're firing off per month. How many events do you need? Well, I'm going to show you that as we look at the back end of my website in a moment. But first, I do need to tell you that AppSumo is sponsoring today's video, and Black Friday continues for Plus members. That's right, general accessibility to AppSumo's Black Friday sale has unfortunately ended, but if you are an AppSumo Plus member or decide to become one, you can still save on the Black Friday deals. Black Friday runs through December 5th at noon Central Time for Plus members. So go ahead, sign up for Plus. I've got a link down below if you'd like to get going for that. It is a $99 a year fee, and it gives you 10% off everything at AppSumo, including the already discounted prices for Black Friday. So if you're inclined, go ahead and check that out. I'll add a link to the Black Friday extended access in the description as well. And once again, my thanks to AppSumo for sponsoring today's video. So that feature I was just showing you of the globe, this is a legit feature. So it's under the globe right here. We'll look at the main screen in a moment, but just there's all sorts of different ways to visualize your traffic. So for some reason, I had a little burst of traffic earlier in the morning here. You can kind of see it on the chart. And I can see that either in a 3D view, or if I click 3D, it'll actually take me to 2D. And that just shows me kind of where the little faces are all over the world. I can also look at specific coordinates. If I don't know, are you sailing ships and you need to find your website visitors? Whatever makes sense. We can see it by country, which kind of highlights things. The brighter they are, the more visitors there were, and also subdivisions. So those territories or states inside of the countries, you can see like I'm in Minnesota. So some of that was probably myself. I did actually filter out my IP address. So I don't know what the correlation is there. Hopefully that data is being stripped out. I'll show you how to do that too. So this is the main screen for Rybbit. It's where you're going to be most of the time when you're using the tool. We've got some metrics up here at the top, and as I click on those metrics, it's going to show me a chart down below for that metric. There's also some other glanceable information here, like a mini chart of what's going on, and then a metric comparing it over to the same time period of the previous unit of time. So right now we're looking at a daily basis. I can choose other increments of time here, even setting my own custom range. By the way, we get up to 2 years of data retention with the AppSumo deal. So I think in 2 years, it'll be great to go back and look at the website, how it's been performing, year over year or quarter over quarter. That'll be very valuable information. The rest of the dashboard contains these cards that have other valuable bits of info. So this first card here is all about how traffic is getting to your website, what websites are sending you traffic, as well as whether they're finding you via organic methods or search, which is considered channels. Then the next 5 categories over here are all about UTM parameters. Now, I don't usually use UTM parameters, so I don't have any information here. They're all blank. But if you do, these will populate. You'll be able to see what traffic was sent to you via which campaigns you're running and tracking via UTM. This next card over here is all about which pages are performing the best on your website. So the first option here is the number of page views based on the slug. We can also view that same information using page titles. And they've got other information about entry pages. So an entry page is what page someone lands on for the first time on your website, as well as exit pages, what page are they on when they actually leave. Now what's cool is that I can easily add filters to this main page by just clicking on any of these metrics. So if I wanted to see everybody whose entry page was the Hey Oliver article, I can click on this and now all of my data on the entire main page is filtered to that specific metric. My filters are listed right up here and I can add new ones or remove existing ones. So let's say we got rid of this. We just go up to the filter here and we can choose a path of country is United States. Now I'm going to see only the data from visitors in the United States. Filters are a very powerful part of Rybbit, as they are any analytics platform, but I think the strength in Rybbit is how easy they are to configure. Just thumbing through my data and then saying, oh, it would be really interesting to see who's looking at the Black Friday page, and now I can see what countries they're coming from as well as the trends over time. That is super powerful. And when you want to reset and go back to all of the information, just remove it and you're good to go. Okay, I'm not going to be exhaustive about everything else on this main screen, but let's get a feel for the other types of data that we have access to here. This next card is all about the hardware someone is using when they land on your website. So what browser are they using? Are they on mobile or are they on desktop? What operating system are they on? And what is their screen size when they're actually hitting your website? That's really cool info. Then we've got some location info, regions, cities, languages, map, and time zones. Next is custom events. And just before I hit record here, I actually set up a custom event and I'll show you what that looks like as we get into some of the other options. We can also see outbound links. Where are people clicking on your website to leave the website? That's cool info. And then we saw the weekly trends briefly earlier. We can sort the weekly trends by unique visitors, page views, sessions, bounce rate, pages per session, and session duration. There's also information about the types of visitors your website is getting. What data centers are they coming from? What companies do they work for? What type of company are they? And are they using a VPN? And the last card down here is all about information that comes from Google Search Console. I did connect up Search Console, but as you can see here, there's a delay in actually getting the information in, but eventually we'll be able to see what keywords people are using, the pages, countries, and devices according to Google. By the way, there's a little counter at the top to show you how many people are currently on your website. So right now I've got 3 users online in the last 5 minutes. Now you might be wondering, how do I actually set this thing up? Well, when you add a website, you're going to get a little tracking code. Let's add a website right now. By the way, you can make your analytics public if you want. I'm not going to do that. So I just added a second website here, and now I've got an HTML script that I need to add on my website. Now, if you're using WordPress, they do have a guide on how to do this. They have a Rybbit plugin, so very easy. Just install that and then add the site ID to the plugin and you'll be good to go. But for most people, it's easy enough to just copy and paste this code into the head of their website. Almost everybody has added a tracking code at this point, I think. But if you haven't, just send it off to whoever works on your website. They can easily add in a tracking code to the head section of the website. Not a big deal. Now, I want to talk about custom events. I mentioned I set up a custom event for my website before I started recording here, and you can see it's newsletter signups. Now, I'm not using WordPress. I'm using Ghost, a different CMS. And so I went ahead and set up a little JavaScript in order to track people who signed up for my email newsletter. So by the way, here's what my website looks like. I've got email signups all over the place. There's one here, there's one here, and then as you scroll down the page, there's another one here. So I actually want to find out where they're coming from when they sign up. So you can see with my custom event, I'm actually tracking 8 different parameters. I'm tracking the action itself, the domain of the user who's actually signing up, as well as the page they're on, and what section of that page that sent them there. So in this case, it was on the homepage and the hero section. So this newsletter custom event, I coded with the help of some AI to get that tracking on my website. And it was very easy to set up. There's documentation here on how to do it. But if you're using a mainstream platform like WooCommerce or Shopify, they did all the work for you. Well, they did a lot of the work. So for example, if you're using WooCommerce, well, you'll install the Rybbit plugin, just like we talked about, the WordPress plugin, and then you're gonna add in a snippet depending on what events you wanna track. So you wanna track view products, well, copy this and then paste it into your snippet plugin. I recommend Fluent Snippets, totally free, great plugin. Go ahead and paste it in there. There are snippets for add to cart, begin checkout, so when someone goes to the checkout page, and purchases, so when they hit the thank you page. Very similar for Shopify users, except there's not a plugin. You'll just add in the tracking script like I described for Ghost, and then you add in the tracking events that you want. So the e-commerce events, you'll just copy and paste these into your templates essentially, right? So here is one for a view, an add to cart, begin checkout, and then purchase. Same as WooCommerce. Now, once we start to track events, we can start to build funnels. Well, to be clear here, you could build a funnel before you're tracking events, but I think most people are going to want to have specific events as a part of their funnel, like a goal being to get a purchase or a sign up, something like that. So that's what I did here is I built out a funnel. So 40 sessions on the homepage, one newsletter sign up. I can create a funnel right over here. You just simply give the funnel a name. I just left mine new funnel, and then add in the steps for each funnel. So let's say they come to a homepage or they land on a specific page, and then I want them to go to maybe a sales page or just proceed through the funnel to eventually become a customer. Similar to funnels, but less goal-oriented and also requiring no setup at all, is journeys. Journeys show you the path that someone takes when they land on your website. So in this case, 4 people landed on the homepage. 2 of them clicked over to the sponsorship page. 2 of them clicked over to the about page. Now, you'll notice the about page actually has 3 visitors. That's because someone else clicked on Black Friday and then landed on the about page. This type of information is so valuable because now you can see exactly how people are interacting with your website, going from link to link and the path that they're taking. Are they hitting the pages you want? And what changes could you make to get the traffic to go the directions that convert into the dollar signs? There's great filters here as well. So we're just looking at 10 journeys. I can increase that to see more visitors at once. And we're also limiting this to 3 steps. So if people are on more pages, I can increase it and see even more steps through the journey. I could also say on step 1, I only want to see people who came to the homepage and where did they click from there. So I just put a slash in to indicate the homepage, and I could continue to filter that all the way through each step of the journey. Just a great interface. It's very accessible. You don't need to be an analytics nerd to take advantage of this, but if you are a data scientist, you'll love it too. The retention page is going to show you how many visitors returned week over week. Now, since I've only had this tool running on my website for about 24 hours, obviously I don't have any data here. Luckily, on the Rybbit homepage, they do have a live demo, so you can check this out for yourself. And if we go over to retention, we are going to see a little bit of data here. Very, very helpful to see it fill in. We can see the different number of users, how many returned from week 1 to week 2, it drops off. So by week 4, still 8 people are revisiting the website. You can also view retention on a day-by-day basis. It doesn't have to just be week over week. So 14 days, you can see how many people are coming back to your site day after day. Definitely really interesting to see. Back over to my website analytics, I'm on the Pages tab, and this is where you can see page by page how your website is performing. There's a chart here that gives you a visualization of traffic to the page. It actually gives you real information at particular time points. So as I hover over it, we can see how many users hit on that hour. We get total number of sessions as well as the average time on page. Rybbit can do core web vitals as well to check the performance of your website. I love this feature. You can do it by country. So if you want to get a feel for how your website is performing around the globe, well, here it is in United States, Italy. Yeah, overall pretty consistent in terms of speed. Everything's green, at least for largest contentful paint, until we get down to Tunisia, where it happens to be a little bit slow. Yeah, this feature is really cool. You can even do it by operating system or browser to just know if certain devices are hanging on your website. That's super helpful. Now, once you set up event tracking, you can configure goals. So just head over to goals and hit add new, give it a name, choose the goal type. This could be a page goal. So if you have a thank you page you want people to land on and track users who do that, go ahead and configure that. Or it can be an event goal like a newsletter sign up. So I'm going to create this goal. Once you have your goal added, it will show you the number of conversions you have as well as the conversion rate. If you click on it, it will give you the specifics for the actual conversions, and we can even see the users. That's right, Rybbit can track your users. Now, I didn't mention it in the intro, but this is fairly privacy-focused software. It is hosted in the EU in Germany, so it's GDPR compliant. It doesn't use any cookies at all, so you don't need to add a cookie banner if the only thing you're doing is running this tool. Now, if you do other things, you still need a cookie banner, but this tool itself does not require any sort of permission because It's not gathering any personal information. The information that Rybbit is gathering about your users is anonymized enough to keep them private, but specific enough to still be helpful for CRO and marketing purposes. Essentially, we get a long list of anonymous users here. You can see all of the information about their visit. If I wanted to see which pages Magenta Emu hit, I can just click on the user. I can see they've been to the website 3 times, visiting 3 different pages. They're on a Windows computer and looks like they are located in Singapore. Now, if you want to, in the site settings, you can track their IP address. As they say, this is definitely not GDPR compliant, but the option is there. If you do this, you should use a cookie consent banner to make sure that you're actually getting consent to track someone's private information. By the way, the site settings page is also where you can add in IP exclusions. You'll want to exclude your own IP address as well as anyone else who works for you who's visiting the website frequently so that it doesn't mess up your analytics. Just a couple of fields below the IP exclusions, you'll see the settings for Google Search Console. That's where you connect up to Google and get that information about keywords and everything that we saw on the main screen. Go ahead and get that set up. Keep in mind that info is delayed by about 2 to 3 days, so it'll take a while to show up. So jumping back to users for a second here, we saw the list of the anonymous names here. Right above users is sessions, and you're gonna notice those are the same names. So if I wanted to see exactly what path they took, I could look at Aqua Meerkat here, went from the Sendy review all the way over to the Sendy review again. I'm not sure the path on that, but you can see maybe they only visited one page and that's when they left. So we can see a kind of a different view of the same information here without actually clicking on each individual user. So here's Crimson Leech. They visited the AppSumo roundup from 12/24. And if I go back over to the sessions, here's Crimson Leech again, and you can see it's the exact same information, just a little bit more condensed. You can see everything at a glance. The last tab I'll throw at you over here is that I'm tracking errors on the website as well. So you can see there's a few instances of errors. This is set up in the site settings. Right here, error tracking, just toggle that on and it's gonna capture JavaScript errors that show up on your website. Something to keep an eye on. It will also use some of your events, which we've not really talked about. So let's jump over to the AppSumo deal page. So each of the tiers comes with a set number of websites that you can track, but also a number of events per month. And that number could be a little bit misleading if you don't fully understand what an event is in the eyes of Rybbit. So essentially, everything is an event. So in error here, these are all events. If we go to the events page, well, my custom events are of course events, but so are clicks around my website. Those are events as well. So here's my subscription page. And as you can see, I've got AppSumo Tier 3, which includes 250,000 events per month. So I'm fine. I've got a lot. But I've only had the code on my website for a little over a day now, and I've already used 1,400 events. So I don't have a very big website. And as I hover over this, you can see the breakdown. I've got 742 page views, which are using up an event per page view. Bottom line, this is a great tool and I'm not gonna dog it, but Tier 1 is pretty restrictive. You've gotta just barely be getting going to make a lot of use out of the events. So I recommend going to at least Tier 2 or probably even Tier 3 if you want to use this. Now, in my mind, that's still a really great deal. Knowing that I can pay for it once, I don't have to manage a server and keep everything online. I like that, and I think it's a really strong value. But if you are worried about having too many events utilized, you might just want to turn off the error tracking. Now, I didn't have that many events triggered by error tracking, but it will use your events more quickly. All right, we are nearing the end, folks, but the only other feature to talk about is replays. Replays, not a part of the LTD. If you want to use replays, they recommend that you upgrade to their Pro plan, which is $40 a month. That is fine. I think most people turn on the replays and then they never even look at them, or they look at them once and it just continues to slow down their site into infinity. There are lots of ways to do screen recordings of the users on your website, Microsoft Clarity being probably the most widely known one. So check that out. I think it would complement this tool great for doing CRO in targeted cases, but certainly don't leave it on permanently. That's not what that tool is meant for. So to wrap this thing up, Rybbit is an awesome tool. It's going to be the analytics platform that I use on Dave Swift going forward. Really impressed with it. I'm going to give this one an 8.6 out of 10. You can pick it up with my link in the description. Once again, thank you to AppSumo for sponsoring today's video. If you got any questions, hit me up in the comments. Subscribe if you're new around here. Like the video if you liked it. My name is Dave Swift. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.